Hello, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to today's webinar, hosted by the French FRAMCO, French American Business Council of West Florida. My name is Betty Kappa. I am the president of FRAMCO and also commercial realtor and business broker. So a little bit about FRAMCO. Our mission as a Chamber of Commerce, our mission is to connect, support, and empower French and American professionals doing business in Florida. And today's session is a perfect example for that. We are very fortunate to have with us Amanda Mathias, an experienced business attorney who specializes in guiding entrepreneurs and investors through the legal side of starting and growing a business in Florida. So let me tell you a little bit more about Amanda, her video. So Amanda Mathias is a seasoned business attorney, entrepreneur, and co-founder of a boutique law firm that helps founders, investors, and companies protect and grow their business across borders. Originally from New York and now based in Florida, sunny Florida, Amanda advises on legal strategy, corporate structuring, and contracts for clients ranging from international investors to high growth entrepreneurs, especially those expanding from Canada into the US and now France and Europe. But Amanda's approach goes beyond traditional law. As a holistic leader who practices yoga, meditation, and energy work, she brings grounded clarity and intentionality into every part of her work. She is deeply committed to supporting women, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and causes close to her heart, including animal conservation. Thank you, Amanda. Her mission is to help others build lasting legacy legally, strategically, and soulfully. Well, thank you, Amanda, for being here with us today. And we are very excited to learn about all the Florida business. Thank you.
Yes,
The floor is yours.
thank you for having me. That's a great introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Matias. Today, I am going to walk you through the incorporation process in Florida, applying for your EIN and opening a U.S. bank account, going through the core legal documents that every business needs, and the importance of website policies, so your terms of use and your privacy policies. And finally, why having a corporate counsel is essential. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A at the end. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, why Florida? So, even more so now, Canadians are already one of the most largest groups of foreign investors in our state, and it's no surprise. Um, Florida is a very strategic location. It has a diverse workforce. It has a lot of bilingual professionals in industries like tourism, tech, aviation, and healthcare. And also, Florida is a very business-friendly regulatory environment with relatively low fees and easy incorporation processes for your business. And on top of that, it's very favorable asset protection laws, which makes it appealing for long-term wealth planning. So, step one, to start your business here in Florida, you for LLCs, you have to file what's called articles of organization. And for corporations, you'll file articles of incorporation. And this is done through sunbiz.org. Sunbiz.org is Florida's official Division of Corporations registration website. This is where you will go to set up your legal entity, or where your attorney will go to set up your legal entity. You will need to list a registered agent that has a Florida address. A registered agent is someone that is available Monday through Friday during regular business hours at a physical location that in case you get served with a notice, a lawsuit, for example, that registered agent is available to accept service on your behalf. This address, when you file your articles on SunBiz, the address for the registered agent must be a physical location. It cannot be a PO box. And if you, there's companies that serve as registered agent for your business that you can hire. It's usually like $150 a year. Also, my firm serves as registered agent as well, and I believe that's $150 a year. But it's very important that if you're not going to serve as registered agent, that you have a physical person in a physical address who will be physically available to accept service, if that if you're ever served with notice. And the to file the articles on SunBiz for an LLC, it's $125 filing fee, and for corporations, it's $70. So it's pretty inexpensive. And if you file the articles online through the SunBiz portal, they're usually processed the same day, if not the next day. And step 2 is applying for your EIN. So this is an employer identification number. It's from the IRS, which is our Internal Revenue uh, Service. And think of the EIN as like a social security number, but for your business. You apply directly at irs.gov. It's free, it's instant, and it's required in order to open a U.S. bank account, file U.S. tax returns, hire employees, and the application, like I said, it's free. So once you have your articles, you will go to the irs.gov website. It's super easy to fill out. You just enter the information. It might take you like 5 or 10 minutes. And then it will essentially like auto-populate an EIN number for you. Okay. So now that you're incorporated and you have your EIN, the next step is setting up your foundation with contracts. And depending on the type of business that you're going to have here in Florida, the variation of contracts may differ, but you are going to need an operating agreement if you have an LLC, or you're going to need a shareholders agreement if you have a corporation. Service agreements are for businesses who have clients or customers. If you're opening a restaurant, you may not need a service agreement, but you may need vendor agreements, and that is similar to a service agreement, but where you're contracting with suppliers, for example. Employment agreements and independent contractor agreements are a must if you plan to build a team and hire people to work in your business. And non-disclosure agreements, of course, are always super important to protect your confidentiality and your private business information. And then lastly, if you have a website, you need to have terms and conditions and a privacy policy posted on your website. I'm going to go through each of these document types and the key terms that really should be included in there. And it's not an exhaustive list. It's just some of the key terms that need to be included just to get you to start thinking about the terms and how you want your documents to be laid out. So for operating agreements and shareholders agreements, remember operating agreements are for LLCs, shareholders agreements are for corporations. But in either way, these agreements are the backbone of your business structure. They cover who owns what percentage, what capital contributions have been made by each owner, the voting rights, and who gets to make decisions. So, for example, let's say you and your business partner are starting or you're opening a restaurant. And one of you is in charge of hiring and firing employees, and the other is in charge of managing the financials. You're going to want to put it in writing what voting requirements are required for hiring or firing. Does it require unanimous vote? Does it require supermajority vote? Spending, you know, any amount over $500 of company funds, does that require unanimous vote or does that require supermajority vote? So different things to think about in that nature. Also, how profits are distributed and how frequently. What happens if an owner wants to sell their interest, wants to retire, or passes away? Or what happens if one of the owners becomes disabled, let's say ends up in a coma and is unable to contribute or work in the business any longer? What happens to their ownership interest? Another important key provision that will be in your operating agreement or shareholders agreement is the dispute resolution process. So let's say you are in a dispute with a business partner. How are you going to resolve that? Mediation, arbitration, litigation. So we want to make sure that we map out what is the uh, most cost efficient and in terms of time in resolving issues, what is the best way for you based on your goals and with the business. And then also include restrictive covenants like non-competes and non-solicitations. And having all of this in writing is critical to avoid conflicts down the road. And honestly, there's countless times that my firm has, worked with clients who've hired us after they have a problem.
Mm.
And a lot of times it's an issue with their business partner. And when you're in business with someone, you're entering into a business marriage with them. And it's like having a business or being in a marriage, but not having a prenup. Think of an operating agreement or shareholders agreement similar to a prenuptial agreement in a marriage because you enter a business marriage, you could get a business divorce. And so the operating or shareholders agreement really helps iron out any issues that could potentially arise because it already states in the agreement how they're to be handled. So it's super, super important. And also, something that most people, even Floridians, don't know is you think, oh, I'll have an LLC and that means I have limited liability. I'm protected. In Florida, if you are the only owner, a single member LLC, you do not have any limited liability. And if there is a creditor or like a judgment lien against your business and your business cannot cover that lien, then the judge can say, okay, we're going to collect from your personal assets. So, all the more reason why, if you have an operating agreement, it helps as an additional layer of protection from creditors to show, hey, I'm not an alter ego of my business. I am my own separate person. And in a way, try to protect your personal assets if your business is ever sued. Next is whenever you're ready to hire, whether it's an employee or a contractor, you want clear agreements in place, either an employment agreement or an independent contractor agreement, depending on the type of classification. So an employee will be someone who is on your payroll. They are going to receive a W-2. An independent contractor is someone who is not on your payroll, and they will receive what is called a 1099. The difference is there's quite a few differences, but the main thing to understand here is that an employee follows a specific schedule, your specific rules. An independent contractor, think of someone who maybe you're opening up a dog training business here in Florida and you want to hire different dog trainers and they have the ability and autonomy over their schedule. They can book their own training sessions. They just have to report back to you with certain information, but you're not requiring them to clock in and clock out at a specific schedule every time or every day. So those are the distinctions between employee and independent contractor, which is super important to understand or to have your attorney explain to you when you are ready to hire, because you don't want to hire someone as a 1099 independent contractor. Then they file a claim against you for like unpaid wages or something, and then it turns out that they were actually supposed to be classified as an employee, your business can get in trouble for that. But back to the agreements, in these agreements, you're going to want to clearly specify the role and responsibilities of this employee, how much they're getting paid, what their pay structure looks like, Any confidentiality obligations that you want them to be bound to, because they're going to have access to confidential information of your business. So you want to have provisions in there that protect that confidential information, as well as ownership of intellectual property. So think your trademarks, if you have any copyrights, patents, restrictive covenants like non-competes and non-solicitation clauses. You don't want an employee that you hire to then open up the same or similar business a year later and then take your clients or your employees with them. You also want to include the term of the agreement and how and when their employment can be terminated. Do you require 7 days notice, 14-day notice, 30-day notice? And how disputes will be handled. And so this ensures that both you and your worker have clarity and protection. Now, service agreements. If you're in a service industry, you're going to want a service agreement to help you protect your revenue. And at the very least, the agreements, they should cover scope of services and deliverables, payment terms and late fees, confidentiality and data protection clauses, who owns the IP. So let's say, for example, you are you're working with a developer who is creating content for you of whatever type. You want to have in there who owns that content. Is it you, the company, who's paying this developer to provide this service? Or is the developer going to own the content? Because if it doesn't specifically say, then you could end up in an argument, a legal battle over that. You want limitation of liability clauses in there as well, and how long the term of the agreement is for. So how long are you going to be providing the service to so-and-so, or how long they are going to be providing to you? And termination provisions. How much notice do you require before the contract is terminated? And finally, dispute resolution. And ideally, because you're going to have a Florida business, you're always going to want the contracts that you enter into with someone else and then your own contracts that you have drafted for your company to be governed under Florida law and to have the venue, so where the disputes are handled or resolved is in Florida. Because let's say you're opening a restaurant and you are working with a vendor that is based out of Ohio for whatever reason. Maybe they provide, certain supplies. If you get into an issue with them, say breach of contract dispute, and whatever you signed says that the governing law is Ohio and that disputes are to be resolved in Ohio, you now have to hire legal counsel in Ohio, fly to Ohio or wherever the other, venue is, and appear in court or however it is that you need to resolve that dispute. So you will not be able to handle it in Florida. So it's super important to make sure that everything is subject to Florida law and venue. Okay, so NDAs or non-disclosure agreements. These are all about protecting your confidential information. They prevent others from misusing or disclosing your sensitive data. So who should sign one? Business partners or collaborators, employees, independent contractors or freelancers, vendors, service providers who may access sensitive information, investors or potential buyers during the due diligence process, even clients or advisors, depending on what you're sharing with them. So the goal is to protect your business know-how, your strategies, your client information, even things just as simple as like notes, drawings, um, business strategies, lead generations, email addresses, any type of contact information, any type of know-how for your business. If you're going to talk to anyone about anything that has sensitive information that you don't want someone to run off and share, they must sign an NDA first before you have that conversation with them. Oh, and also, in the NDAs, you can have a duration that the NDA is in effect. So let's say you are meeting with a potential investor, right? And you're going to talk to them about your business strategy, your plans, your goals, um, any financial information that you have, projections. The investor, they'll sign the NDA and then maybe you don't do business with them. They don't invest, whatever happens, but you don't want like 6 months down the road for them to take your business concept and duplicate it or share information with someone else that you thought would be kept confidential. So you want to make sure that the duration of this confidentiality provision is either in perpetuity or for like 5 years, 10 years. So that's really important too, because I've actually seen NDAs where that wasn't specified and let's just say poorly drafted contracts can actually be more harmful than helpful. And again, so who should sign NDAs? Anyone that you are going to be sharing any know-how with, any sensitive information. And this is so terms of use or terms and conditions, you can use that interchangeably in privacy policies. These are probably like two of the most overlooked and like AI generated contracts that a lot of startups seem to, I guess, skip over. Terms of use is they're essential. They're essentially the rules of the road for your website. So the terms of use explains how visitors can use your site. They limit your liability for downtime or errors and protect your intellectual property, like your content, your branding, your images. So, you know how when you go on a website, you can scroll down to the bottom, or sometimes now you don't even have to scroll. A little pop-up will come up and say, like, you agree to the terms and conditions or the privacy policy of the website. This is highly regulated and many entrepreneurs overlook the website policies, but it has to be up there. So if you're going to have a website, you need to have these two documents. The privacy policies, they're legally required if you're collecting any personal data like names, emails, or payment info. They disclose what information you collect, how it's used, and how it's protected. And why does this matter? It's legally required under both US and Canadian privacy laws and many global frameworks like the GDPR. It builds trust with users and clients, and it's often required by payment processors, app stores, or even potential partners. So if you have a website, and especially if you collect leads, emails, or process payments, you absolutely need both. And one thing that I want to touch on is the use of AI in the legal field because more often now I'm getting calls from potential clients that they say, oh, I use ChatGPT to draft an operating agreement or to draft my service agreement. Can you review it for me? And my answer is sure, I'll review it. And then sometimes it ends up taking me longer to plug in and fix the information than if I just use the format that I have and curate a tailored agreement for the business itself. So oftentimes with terms of use and privacy policies, they'll, plug it into ChatGPT. And what people don't understand is there's like certain regulations for certain states, California, I believe Wisconsin or Wyoming is another one, but you want to make sure that these two contracts in on your website comply with the global framework of what's required. And I can tell you AI is not very good at including everything on there. So just be very cautious with that. My next slide here. Oh, why you need corporate counsel. Exactly why, because AI is not an attorney. And AI is helpful, it's useful, but it's not capable of providing everything that you need to really protect your business. But there are this is where many entrepreneurs they miss their mark. So the truth is like waiting until you have a problem to hire a lawyer is like waiting until you crash your car to buy car insurance, if that makes sense. General corporate counsel helps you prevent problems before they happen. We create tailored contracts that fit your unique business model and goals. And we help navigate cross-border compliance. So, as a Canadian entrepreneur doing business in the US, also builds credibility with banks and investors when they see that you are represented legally. And you have a strategic partner who understands both business and law. And I will say, not all business attorneys are equal in terms of experience, legal drafting, even litigating, and just in business in general. So, my firm, we're entrepreneurs ourselves. We've built a business, we've scaled it national. So I understand what it takes to truly be an entrepreneur and also to how to legally protect the business. So when you're interviewing or looking for attorneys, make sure that they understand, like truly understand business. Because just because they have a law degree and they practice business law doesn't mean that they are a helpful strategic partner all the time. And ultimately, having corporate counsel on your team, you can focus on growth while knowing that your legal foundation is secure. And really, when you come here to the US and you're establishing your core team, so not just your business partners, but your lawyer, your accountant, or CPA. We work hand in hand with our clients' CPAs regularly to make sure that your goals are everyone's on the same page. We're all aligned. We're all working for you to make sure that your business accomplishes the goals that you have for it. I have here a QR code. If you want to book a consult with my firm, either me or any of the attorneys on my team, we are all well equipped to answer your questions, to provide you with legal counsel representation, and happy to get you set up here in the US. I want to leave some time for Q&A, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and answer your questions.
Well, thank you, Amanda. Just to, I know that you also have attorneys in Orlando or in Florida. You have a couple in Orlando, Miami, because
Yeah,
it's, yeah,
our main office is in Fort Lauderdale, but we're
okay.
in Tampa and Orlando physically
Mm-hmm.
as well. But we have clients all over Florida. We have clients all over the US actually. But
Yeah.
anyone who is doing business in Florida, we can help them, whether they're in Northern Florida, Jacksonville. We have they're everywhere, Tallahassee, even Miami's a
Mhm.
big hub.
So I have a question for one of our somebody who couldn't be here. She said, it's for me for also for an international investor, what is the first step that you recommend before signing a lease or purchase contract in Florida? Call you?
A lease,
Yeah.
yeah, so lease agreements, commercial agreements are very landlord friendly. And I draft, well, my firm, like we all draft commercial lease agreements for landlords and also for tenants. So we will redline and negotiate pretty heavily those commercial lease agreements to make sure that you really are protected and that you understand what you're signing because you don't want to end up in a situation where your lease agreement says that you have to pay a percentage of the landlord's taxes and expenses, and then all of a sudden you get a random $8,000 cap bill from your landlord and you're like, what is this? I don't have to pay this, but actually you do because the lease says that you will.
Mm, yeah, so that's good. And what are the most legal mistakes that new business owners make when they start their business in Florida that you've seen? Yeah.
They don't have the proper contracts in place.
Mm,
Particularly if they're starting a business with with a business partner, they have to have that operating or shareholders agreement in
mm,
place. And then so that's like internally, but then out facing, like with the public, like in operation, not having a service agreement in place with their customers or their clients. Because if you're just doing, a handshake deal or a verbal agreement on, the services you're going to provide to so and so, and then they say that you didn't deliver or there was a mix up and you just have some emails or texts going back and forth, but not a true contract memorializing
mm,
the scope of services and the roles and responsibilities of each person involved, you're going to end up in an expensive time time suck and like of resources and money in litigation. So
mm,
just have all the contracts in place first before you have a problem.
hmm. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to come back to the NDA.
Mhm.
What the minimum? Because sometimes I've seen some, there's no date on it. So it doesn't say if it's 6 months, especially on the business brokerage part. And you have to have NDA in place. So to protect because you give some information like the taxes information for the past two
Yeah.
years, bank information, and what the minimum, like 5 years you were saying,
Um, I mean,
to protect the seller.
yeah, I would say at a minimum,
Minimum
for
five
sure.
years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there's no time listed in the NDA, it
Mm-hmm.
will be whatever the court deems as a reasonable period of time. So depending on the industry, the type of information and the context. So for example, like for business negotiations,
Yeah.
typically that NDA, it's like between 2 and 5 years, the court deems as like reasonable.
Okay.
Um, if it's like formulas, client lists, proprietary tech information, um, it could be like potentially indefinite until the information becomes public. So then you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want a time limit on it.
Yeah, makes sense. So when somebody wants to, an investor wants to come here, so I always say you have to see first a business attorney, a CPA, and open a bank account. What is have an address, so they can start really thinking about opening a business because in order to to do their application for the visa, especially the visa E2. It's a
Mm.
business entrepreneur investor visa. So, what the number one step do they do? Should they have like first call you, have a conversation with you, and then have a CPA or the CPA? Oh, yeah.
So so they can call my office. We can have a consult. We work with CPAs every day. So we can recommend a few different CPAs for them to consult with and then see who they vibe with best, who they want to work with, and compare their services and rates and stuff. So I would say call us first, call an attorney first, get your entity set up. If you're not sure if you want to be an LLC or a corporation, we can guide you on that from a legal like corporate structure perspective. But if you have any tax related questions, that's when you'll engage your accountant or your CPA, and then we'll work together to determine what is the best corporate structure strategy based on your tax goals and your business goals.
Mm, okay. Good to know. Thank you. Uh, that's yeah, CPA attorney. Anybody has a question while I'm looking at my
Um, I was working with companies in France about intellectual property, and I was in charge of orientating towards lawyers. And one of the question was of obviously price, and I would like to know, do you charge by hour or do you have a fixed rate? You know,
So
like a
at my
package for
firm,
something?
yeah, so for corporate counsel representation, which includes setting up your like your LLC, all your contracts, reviewing your lease agreement, whatever the business needs, we're your corporate counsel to handle that. It's a $3,000 retainer. We bill by the hour, so we deduct our billable time from the retainer, and then whenever the retainer hits zero, the client replenishes and we continue working. There may be months where we're super busy, especially in the startup period. You need your articles filed, you need your operating agreement drafted, you need a lease, commercial lease reviewed, and then maybe you're ready to hire, or you have some clients that are waiting, but you're not ready to hire yet. So we'll do a service agreement first. And then when you are ready to hire, we'll work on your employment agreement. So all of that falls under the corporate counsel representation scope. And so for partners, hourly rate is 450 an hour. If we're handling litigation, because we have a full litigation department, um, for that, it's a different retainer, I believe, for like pre-suit disputes. Let's say you're already in business and maybe you get served a demand letter, or you need to serve a demand letter because maybe a client hasn't paid you. Um, Pre-suit disputes, if we're not corporate counsel already, that's $5,000 retainer. Whenever we need to file a lawsuit, it's a $10,000 retainer. And again, we just bill by the hour, and then whenever the retainer hits zero, we stop, or you replenish. If all the work is done and you just don't need anything else and there's money left over in your retainer, we just refund it back to you.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. And how partners are you in your company?
I'm sorry.
How many partners are in your company?
So it is one, two, three, four. There's five of us, attorneys right now, and then we have our full staff. But I will say we are growing in very intentionally. We're scaling, so we are in the process of hiring, which is super exciting. And we've expanded into multiple states already, so we're growing.
Okay, great.
So I have a question regarding the business plan because some of the business attorney they do business plan. Is
Mm,
that the case? Because I'm surprised, so I'm just asking.
I business plan meaning like
They want to buy, they want to open a business and they need to have a business plan for how much they should invest and I think yeah.
I mean, maybe some attorneys do that. I
Mhm.
haven't really, I
Okay.
don't know any that do, and I'm not really sure. I'd be cautious because they may not
Yeah.
actually be qualified to.
That's what I think. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are other uh, professionals that an entrepreneur can hire
Hmm.
outside of an attorney to do that.
Okay. It would be nice to have those people
Yeah.
also. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Casey, do you have any question? And Bobby, I see any question?
Anyone has any question as far as opening a bank account, I can answer.
Yes. Yeah, I have a question. We had a question with Amanda opening a bank account because when you move here, you need to open a bank account. So do you have to have you need to have an address?
Yep.
Yes, physical address.
Yes, you need a physical address. You need the articles filed on Sunbiz because the bank is going to go on sunbiz.org, look up your business name and profile, and make sure that your name is listed on the articles. And that's the only way that they're going to verify and approve, or even entertain a conversation with you about opening an account. And the EIN number, of course, you need that as well.
Okay, so first see you as business, and then you can see the bank and everything.
Yeah, because you have to file the
Yeah.
articles and
Yes.
then apply for the EIN.
Yeah.
And you can't do either of those until before you have your physical address. So you got to
Mhm.
get an address, whether that's a virtual address at, like a co-working space or it just can't be a PO box. So you have a physical address, then you file the articles with that physical address listed, then you apply for your EIN, and then you go open your bank account.
Then you can be as an attorney, the register agents that you call,
Yep. Yep, you need the registered
or
agent.
somebody who doesn't live here yet, with the process of moving here.
Yeah, they need to hire a registered agent so they can use if you hire my firm as corporate counsel, then we can just serve as your registered agent
Hmm.
and take care of all that. Otherwise, you'll need to um hire one of those like third-party companies that offer that service.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, thank you, Amanda. Any more questions? Kesia, do you have a question?
I don't, but just to clarify, so you oversee corporate law as well as commercial real estate, if I understand correctly?
So we handle commercial real estate stuff with respect to the leases for landlords and tenants. I've also done some residential real estate stuff as well. But yeah, so we will handle essentially whatever the business needs. And if we don't do something in-house, like maybe you want to establish a business trust account to have your ownership interest in a trust, maybe like for your kids later one day. We have our strategic partners, other attorneys who we work very closely with, who will handle that and we'll work together to get it done. But as far as like handling the lease agreements and all of that, we cover it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more question, Bobby? Nope.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Amanda, for all those information. I think
Thank
this
you.
is a great, and this will go, was recorded and will go on our website, on YouTube channel, so we can refer to this video, and then people will be able to connect you because you're also a member of our chamber. So thank you again, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.